Welcome. My name is Dave Hosfeld, and I am a team member of the Senior Living Specialist, and this is my partner, Layla Logine Butler.
Good afternoon.
Good
Hello. Welcome. Welcome. We're going to have a great time this afternoon. We've got prizes. We have a raffle. We have just a lot of great information.
We do, and what we're trying to do today is, this is our first talk show. And we decided that we wanted to have a talk show because we went out in the community as senior living specialists trying to understand, make heads or tails of what's going on in senior living. And it's a mixed bag. And if we're knocking ourselves out trying to figure out what's going on out there, how are our seniors grasping a hold of this? So what we decided is, why don't we bring them here and spotlight the best people in the community to provide the information and the knowledge about what's going on out there, and make it easy on them, have a little nibble to eat, get some information after the show. So what's important today is, after Encore, we have what's called a post-show reception. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, you will notice at the back table we have information about our guest speakers, our sponsor, and our commercial. And they have their information at the table. We'd like for you to browse through and ask any information after presentations. All right?
Okay, well, let's see here. You want to introduce our lineup?
Well, yes, I do. All right. Today, we have as our main guests, we have Lori and Jeff. Lori and Jeff are attorneys in estate planning and elder law, and they'll be discussing that with us today. We have Gail of
Things Home Organizing.
All Things Home Organizing, and we're going to have a short chat with her, and she's going to tell us about what she does. And it's an exciting business, and she's really busy. And we have Ann Sanabria from Monarch Place, and she's going to tell us about a lovely, really lovely assisted living community in Oakland. Okay?
All right. We had a banjo player lined up for this afternoon, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. So check back with us on our next show in January. All right. So without any further ado, here is Jeff Tachiki and Lori Arnold of Tachiki and Arnold LLP.
So they are our neighbors. First of all, they're just right across the street, which makes it quite convenient since you know where we're located now. And they'll just tell you a little background, and then you can ask questions, and I have a few questions.
Well, Jeff and I have been together for about 2 years now, and we do focus our practice on estate planning, which includes a lot of different things. And I started thinking about what I would talk about, and I started thinking about baking. And I love to bake, and when I was a kid, my mom would bake all the time. For a while, she was a stay-at-home mom, so I got to appreciate her treats. And there were some cookies that she would make, and I just love those cookies. And I was trying to recreate that recipe, and I just couldn't. So I found myself searching cookbooks to find a recipe and trying different ones to see if I could come up with those cookies. And I think planning for things like incapacity and death, of course, which are some of the issues that we think about in estate planning. It's sort of like baking, because there are things that you need to do ahead of time. And for instance, this cookie recipe, I actually made some of these cookies, so they're back there at the table if you guys want to try them. Things like preheating the oven. If you don't do that ahead of time, the cookies aren't going to turn out right. This particular recipe, you need to chill the dough for at least an hour in the refrigerator before you bake the cookies. And it's something you have to do ahead of time. And with some of the documents that Jeff and I prepare for clients, they can only be done ahead of time while you still have capacity to do so. And so, Jeff will talk more about that, but the things that we just encourage people to think about and to do while you still can. And I guess that's...
Yeah, so along those same lines, Lori mentioned that you have to do these things ahead of time and that you have to have the capacity to be able to execute these types of documents. And when we specifically talk about incapacity, most people tend to think about estate planning and wills, trusts, and probate, and all of those kinds of things. They hear these words, and to them, it seems like planning for death and all of those kinds of things. But really, for most people, incapacity is a much more real issue than death. I mean, even though all of us are going to die at some point, incapacity is much more likely for most people until they get to be quite elderly than death is. So when we talk about planning for incapacity and having the legal capacity to actually plan for that incapacity, I actually had a client, a potential client, come in earlier this week, and he had brought his father in. His father, I think it was in his early 70s. He owned his own home. He was living in a place in Emeryville, and one of the issues that is, the reason that they had come in is because the father was losing some memory. And it was kind of interesting because when I sat down and talked to the father, you would never have guessed that he had any memory loss whatsoever. But he acknowledged that he did have some memory loss. He was forgetting some things. One of the real issues that he faced was simply that he was not paying his real property taxes, and he hadn't done so for the past 5 years. And now he had a bill of like almost $40,000 accruing on this property. And I said, well, how come you haven't been paying it? He said, well, initially it was, I just forgot, or I just didn't care. And then as the time went on, it was more, I got the mail and I would push it aside and never even think about it. So he said, but I do recognize that I am losing my memory, and so I need someone to help me get back on my feet, get these things taken care of, because I can't do it myself. I'll forget to do it. And so this particular guy he actually has the capacity. After I asked him enough questions, I could discern that he had enough capacity to actually execute the types of documents that would help him assign those tasks to someone else to take care of for him. But if we wait much longer, he might not have the capacity anymore. And so when Lori talks about planning ahead and doing these things ahead of time so that when we reach those particular events, whether it's incapacity or death, we have those pieces in place already, and it makes things much smoother. So that's a lot of what we do as estate planning attorneys. We also handle the legal issues that confront family members and other things when these events actually happen. So on the backside, when these things come into play, and it can be a somewhat emotional, trying practice, but the end result is I think a lot of times we end up feeling just very much rewarded because the families and the people that we help them get through some very difficult times oftentimes. So if you have family members that may be heading towards their later years, you may want to consider having them meet with an estate planning attorney to talk about these things if they haven't done so already. And if they have done it, and it's been 2 or 3, 5 years or whatever since they've talked to them last, you may want to have them sit down with them again to update things because laws change, circumstances change. We want to make certain that the plan that was put in place for them still fits their needs at the present time. So,
Thank you. Now, Jeff and Lori, aside from incapacity, what other issues do you come across in your business?
Well, obviously death is the big
Yes,
one, right?
okay.
And so planning for the death portion of it is we do in conjunction with planning for incapacity. And so, we utilize different, they end up being just documents, but they're tools in our estimation for dealing with these issues. So you'll hear things like powers of attorney, healthcare directives, wills, trusts. We'll talk about avoiding probate and estate tax and those kinds of things. And all of that really is to start making sure that we transition someone through, whether it's incapacity or death, the most efficient way possible. And whether it's saving the money, the cost, or the time and the effort, all of those things can be saved and achieved by doing some planning ahead of time.
And Lori, I know you dabble a little bit in elder law. And what are some of the issues that you deal with in elder law?
Well, Jeff was talking about incapacity and his client that did happen to have capacity, so he was still able to execute those documents that would give the authority to a person of his choosing in order to make those financial and healthcare decisions for him. So if a person hasn't prepared and they are at a point where they don't have capacity, then sometimes we're forced to help the family with something that's called conservatorship. And you might have heard about conservatorships. It's a court, the process is through the courts where you ask the court to appoint someone to handle those financial matters and handle the personal care decisions for someone who isn't able to do it for themselves. And while we're happy to help people with conservatorships and represent them through that process, it's a very costly process. There's accountings that have to be done annually. It's obviously isn't a private proceeding necessarily because you're in the courts, and it's just something that we hope that we can help people avoid. So that is one of the areas that we...
The issues that conservatorships and these documents also help protect against is elder abuse. Sometimes that means physical abuse in the worst case scenarios, but more often than not that means financial abuse. It will blow your mind how often we get phone calls from family members saying, oh, brother or sister or aunt or someone else is taking advantage of mom or dad and they're stealing his or her money and all those things. So, that's when we get into those kinds of situations, it can be very difficult, and unless you have an attorney to help you get through some of the legal issues that you face, it's a stressful situation by itself, but it can be even more stressful if you don't have any legal guidance.
So how would you resolve a claim that someone is abusing their parents financially? One of the sisters or brothers is taking advantage.
In the most severe case, we typically are not calling the police, but it could end up being a phone call to the police. Adult Protective Services could also get involved. Again, those are extreme cases, but it's not that they don't happen. In the more common cases, it's more of, let's get someone in place who is not going to take advantage of mom and dad. And oftentimes that means removing another person from power first before we can get this new person in place. And there are several steps that need to take place before we can get to that point, depending on the elderly person's situation.
I think the goal in a lot of this is to avoid having to go to court.
Right.
So with the estate planning, that's definitely a goal, and also with these kind of family conflict where there might be some suspicion that one family member is taking advantage of an elderly person. So I think that's generally our goal, is try to resolve things out of court.
Any comment or question from our audience? Yes.
It seems to me that this is an area that people put off and put off and put off. It's like cleaning the garage. Is that a cultural thing? Is it just Americans who do, or is it an across the board?
I don't know if it's just an American thing,
I
but
think I think it is part of our culture as Americans. I mean, I think that when we find people, giving us a call, younger people giving us a call, it's oftentimes that they've had a parent who's passed away and they've been faced, with having to deal with their affairs. And I'm always surprised, I guess now I'm not surprised, is when we're talking with a couple about end-of-life decisions, some healthcare decisions. A couple could have been married for 40 years and they've never talked about whether they want the plug pulled or not, or whether they want to donate organs. So I think that we don't like to talk about death. We don't like to talk about getting older, losing control. So
I think that from our perspective, we tend to see what happens when people don't do the planning, how much more difficult it is, how much more costly it is, but it's really hard to impress that upon other people until you've actually gone through it yourself. And so, yeah, I think, it's people don't want to talk about their death. They don't have to spend the money to deal with those things right now. You feel healthy, you feel fine. There's no need to go in and do these kinds of things right now, but we never know when these things can happen. I mean, you hear about the car accident every once in a while, and I know people personally who have had children die in car accidents, who have a minor child, and now that minor child is now subject to a guardianship process, and dealing with assets that are now supervised by a court and things like that. And it can be a nightmare. And if it means spending a little bit of money to deal with those things now, so it's much more efficient. Should those things happen, in the rare event that it does happen.
Jeff or Lori, I have a question for you. Most of the elders that I know have a will. What is it that you do that is different or in addition to having a will that would help secure their interest in their estate and with their family?
well, I think that, again, a will is something that's only going to become effective when they are dead. And we've found people are living longer and physically healthier,
Yeah.
but there's more of a danger of them getting to the point where they're not able to handle their financial affairs. And so it's the power of attorney for financial matters and the healthcare directive, which really allows a person to make their wishes known. And it's kind of like my mom's recipe for those ginger cookies. I mean, if I didn't have, she's not able to tell me now what the ingredients and give me the recipe. So
Good point.
I had to find it out for myself. So that's part of it. And then also in California, if you own assets that are over, it's going up to $150,000 in January, but basically anything over that amount will probably have to go through probate in order to be distributed. So a will may not be enough if you want to avoid probate and make things easier for the people that you leave behind. So oftentimes a revocable trust will be the most appropriate.
Just so it's that you understand what probate is. Probate's just that court process for dealing with someone's affairs when they die. And again, it's one of these processes that's it's wildly expensive, and it's a public proceeding. It takes a very long time to get through probate, and if there's no need to have a court involved to deal with your final affairs, you might as well try and avoid it if you can. So this is where these revocable trusts can come in. There are other ways to avoid probate, but we talk about all these things with clients to figure out what's the best option for them. Perhaps probate is the best option, and there are some clients where it is the best option, but it's sitting down and figuring all that stuff out. That's where the planning comes in.
What are your fees to help organize this estate planning?
That's a good question. It varies depending on the client's circumstances. I mean, I know that's not the answer you want to hear.
Yeah,
But
minimum.
if you have, I mean, I would say that for someone who's looking to avoid probate, maybe wants to just make sure that things get to kids and, you know, get in there simply and those kinds of things, you know, you could be talking anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000, somewhere in there, depending on specific things that we actually do.
How would the process begin? People would call and you'd set up an appointment for a private consult and determine at that time?
Right, initial consultations at our office are always complimentary, and really that initial consultation is just more of an informational session for the potential clients to just give them an idea of some of the issues they face, some of the options that they have out there, maybe what the cost might be at that point, and then they can just take that information and, you know, walk home armed with it and decide what they want to do at that point. And you know, we don't think of ourselves as really selling anything. We are clinicians. We give advice and you know, present legal issues to you that maybe you're not aware of, and you guys get to decide whether or not the issues really are important to you, whether or not you want to do something about them, and then you come in and we can help you get something done if you so choose.
Wonderful. You opened up a whole can of worms. I have a lot of questions. I would like to invite you to come back perhaps next year and talk about the revocable trust and other things that you discussed today, if you would do that. We would greatly appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah.
And just so you know, we have a handout on durable powers of attorney and also healthcare directives. So those are back on the table, and my mom's ginger cookie recipe.
All right. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let's give a round of
And I overlooked one introduction before, and I want to introduce our videographer. His name is Jazz. And that angel he's holding in his arms is Leela Rose, and that's my god baby. And she's my namesake, and I'm very proud of her. All right. Come on up.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
This is an exciting business this woman is in, and she's going to tell you all about it, and I bet you will be surprised.
Oh, boy.
I should turn into something else. This is like-
And now, a fireside chat with Gail and Lo Jean.
All right.
Right, thank you very much. I'm sorry I didn't have another outfit. Thank you. I am Gail Grace, all things home organizing. I am a professional home organizer. That means that's all I do, is go into people's messy homes and bring a sense of order. Part of my specialty is helping people move. I take the stress out of moving by organizing the move and getting you packed up and out of the house and into your new house, unpacked and completely put away.
Wow.
Yes, thank you very much. I know how much we all love to move.
You make it sound so easy.
That's
Yes.
exactly right.
Well, it's in her hands, and you don't have to worry, right?
Perfect.
Yes.
I think we ought to pass a law making people move every 8 years, even if it's just across the street, because it forces you to deal with your stuff. So one of the things I do about 10 to 15 moves a year, and most of those moves are seniors. People who have lived in their house for 30, 40, 50 years.
Wow.
And let me tell you, that's a lot of stuff. because just like our friends here, people don't want to deal with their stuff until they absolutely have to. So we're cleaning our garages, we're cleaning above the house, under the house, we're cleaning over at the neighbor's house. Because believe it or not, people will put their stuff anywhere they can find a place for it. I have one client who brought their RV camper in to park it in the driveway so they could fill it with more of their stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So getting rid of stuff is one of the things that I spend a lot of time doing. And then refereeing families who are moving their mom or their dad, or both mom and dad, to oftentimes to senior housing, oftentimes to Monarch, getting them downsized and ready to move in. So that's what I do, and I love it.
All right. Any questions for Gail? Any helpful hints, Gail?
Helpful hints, start now. This is a young enough crowd. Start now. Stop or try and lessen the purchasing of specialty items.
Oh.
You know, you go into a garage, and I was thinking about how our parents or our grandparents did this. I remember that when my parents had a party, they went to the neighbors, they knocked on the door and they said, "Do you have any extra champagne glasses?" And the neighbor said, "Oh yeah, we've got 10, and then the other neighbor said, "We've got 10, and they had a party. Now, every one of us has to have 50 champagne glasses in our garage. Or you have one margarita party and you have margarita glasses. You have one martini party, you have martini glasses. And before you know it, every inch of the house is full of all these specialty items for, you know, one 5-year-old's birthday party. Uh-oh. So someone's nodding that they recognize the situation, yes. So, so try not to buy all these specialty items. See if you can't buy a glass that will get you through the margarita party, the champagne party, the martini party. And so as we get to the holidays, in fact, I prepared a holiday organizing tip sheet. I was thinking about some of the holiday things that come up. For example, electronics. This was my year to replace some of my electronics, so the question is, what do you do with the old stuff? So my advice is that if you're giving someone an electronic gift, give them a little tag that tells them where they can get rid of the old,
e-waste.
the old one, right?
Okay.
And in Berkeley, you know, we have Compact's automatic response system on East Shore, and you drive in and they will come to your car and they will unload the television set, the computer monitors. They will shred all of your documents right there in front of you. And it's really inexpensive and away you go. So it's a great way to get rid of e-waste. The other thing that happens when you get electronics is you get all these cords and thingamajigs and whatchamacallits and stuff that you have no idea what to do with. So I take those things and I put them in a Ziploc bag, and I write on the outside of the bag that this came with the Sony DVD player that I got on 12/11.
Great idea.
And then I create a folder in my files that says equipment manuals. And on the top of the manual, I write the date that I bought the new television set, and it goes into the file. So I always know that that's where my equipment manuals are going to be, and that the little cords and the little thingamajiggies are in a box marked electronic cables devices. And then when it comes time to give those things away or recycle those things, I know the manual and the cords that go with them also are.
Great.
I have a sheet prepared for you in the back. You can feel free to pick it up, and there is a few other little holiday hints, like please use up all the wrapping paper you have before you go out and buy new wrapping paper.
Oh.
I can't tell you how many closets we're stepping on the last 6 inches of wrapping paper on a roll that's 3 feet long, that's been in the back of the closet for how many years now? So, yes.
Gail, do you end up being a counselor when you are moving, you know, the people? Because, you know, here is your sister, the brother, the uncle, and everybody wants a piece of Uncle. In that case, you know, for insurance purposes and also for the areas that you cover for a moving,
Yeah.
what would that be?
I'm hiring you.
Yeah.
You recognize, you know exactly what we do. Yes, that is a good deal of what I do, is play referee between family members. And actually, I joke about going back to school and getting a degree in psychology, but my friends say, you don't need it. Now you've already got the School of Hard Knocks, you've got one. So yes, I spent a lot of time figuring out how to handle delicate situations. And when it comes to moving seniors and it comes to family members, those situations can be extremely delicate. Yes, hello.
Hi, I'm admitting to some of my poor TV watching habits here. But, do you work with hoarders?
Yes, you know, how many of you have seen the hoarding shows? There's quite a few of them on now.
They're captivating.
Oh, good, so I'm not the only one that watches bad TV. All right, good.
In fact, I'm the only one in this room who doesn't watch those. Yeah, I watched one and then I just said, okay, I don't need to see this anymore. Hoarding is a much more common situation than we ever thought. Hoarding has just started to be studied seriously by psychologists and psychiatrists and the like. Just in the last about 10 years, we've been talking about hoarding as an actual chronic disease that needs treatment, the same way we talk about other addictive diseases.
Is there a 12-step for hoarding?
Yes, there is. There are several of them now.
Wow.
There are whole clinics now
Never ends,
devoted
Dave.
to ending hoarding. Every organizer will, in some point in their career, will knock on the door and discover that their client or their potential client is a hoarder. It is a very, it's a specialty, just like working with seniors is a specialty. There's a group, a special group that works with chronic disorganization. I refer to organizers who have taken their courses, passed their tests, and have certification in that field.
Well, they have a certification.
Yes, they do, they have certifications.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, yes.
So, would you work with, like, a room or rooms?
Yes,
You
I can-
mentioned hoarders, I'm a paper hoarder.
Paper hoarder. You know, they told us when the computer came out that we were never gonna see another paper again. And quite honestly, we're drowning in paper these days.
Yeah.
Everyone has a paper issue. So, you're not alone, don't feel bad. Yes, I can happily help you work through your paper issues. Most importantly, I want to build a system for you so that you don't have those issues anymore.
How are your fees? What are your fees like?
My
And
fees
is
are
this
reasonable.
Is this something you do over a period of time, or how is it?
It depends. When I begin a process with a client, I first of all begin by talking to you. I talk to people over the phone every day with an extensive interview process over the telephone. When we meet in person, I'll be talking to you extensively about what the situation is. And then we'll set up a date. I will come to the home and do an organizing assessment. There is a flat fee for that assessment. And then we'll work out a plan to see whether you need me to come in, you need me to coach you through something, you need me to work with you for a few hours. Sometimes people just want me there all the time. So it can vary, but we can work something out for you. Yes.
Gail, do you work with estate salespeople?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Liquidators, estate salespeople, attorneys, It runs the gamut, it depends on what the client needs. And then I have a full Rolodex of resources that you can meet with and decide that, you want to liquidate, you want to have a garage sale, you want to have an estate sale, yes.
Wonderful.
And then you have movers also, don't you, Gail?
Yes, my moving company's trained by me. Don't get out of the truck with a cigarette in your mouth. Everybody, knows how to properly wrap a grand piano.
Okay,
And,
okay.
so I can recommend moving companies that we work with.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Does anybody, oh, go
Yes,
ahead. Anybody else have any questions?
I have an observation.
Yes.
yes.
My name's Todd. Dave invited me for, you want to say why you invited me?
Well, he has stage experience, so
Uh-huh.
he's helping Encore develop into a real live talk show. And so that's why Todd is here today, but also to educate him as well.
Yeah, and I had the fortune of my mother passed a year ago in October, and boy, that helped me grow up, because it's like, it made me realize death is imminent for everyone in this room. You know, it's just, it's not a dirty word that should be swept under the carpet. It should be something that should be talked about, especially when you were talking about while people still have all in their faculties.
Faculties.
And one of the things that I just wanted to put out for people in this room, my mother had a gift that we really didn't know about until after she had passed. And no one I have three siblings, so there's four of us. I'm in California, two are in Cleveland where she was, another one is in Arizona. And basically that task of going back after she passed and dealing with the house was a royal pain in the Pasuki. I mean, it was like, oh my God.
Yes.
But what made the things a lot easier was that my mother had, over the course of her lifetime, underneath something, put the date and put something about where it had come from. And we would have had no idea. For anybody that's in this room, and you still have
Yes.
aged people that are going to be leaving in the next 15 or 20 years that still have the whereabouts to tell you, Mom, Dad, where did that come from? It's right on the bottom, because if you just have no idea. The reason why I say this is there was one particular table, and I was back at the house. I went back 3 times to help my brothers and clean the house out. And we all went through the house basically right after the funeral. We went through with stickums and just put down the things that we
Yes.
wanted,
Yes.
right? And if there was an argument over it, we do paper, scissors, rock, or whatever. But it was really the estate salesman said, you have to figure out something between the 4 of you and do it now before your sister gets on the aircraft, so that you decide about these things. If you go through the house, walk through together, and put a stickum, Todd, whatever your name is, on the things. And then there was no arguments after that. When we disarmed the house and put this and that and this, everyone knew where everything was going. But the point about this, there was a table, and it was this inane table that had been in the house since I was a kid. And it was in my mother's, and the poor thing, in the last 2 years, I was here, so my brother was taking care of her. And when I grew up, she was a clean freak. And it was so sad because in the room where she spent the most of her time for the last 2 years, there was this thick dust on everything. She just couldn't do the things she... And when I've got mass, and we went in, we were cleaning the house out, and with my brother, I flipped this table over that had just been this inane table that she had even put the TV on in the room, and it was from what is it, 1895. It was this old table that was my grandparents' first table when they came from Poland. And now it is in my living room. It's my kitchen table.
Yes.
But if she took the time to write on the bottom of that, and so I'm encouraging everybody, while your people are still alive, and they still know, because to be happy to tell you
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
That's like
Thank you.
the cookie recipe that
Yep.
Laurie was talking about. It's that same thing, passing on the information so that when the time comes, people aren't, scrambling to figure out, what is this stuff, what is this all about? So I work with a man whose wife just passed away. And they have a very large house with a lot of things. And he was marveling. We were opening kitchen cabinets, and he said, I've been through this house and I've discovered we have 6 sets of dishware. He said,
Wow.
how do we have 6 sets and I never noticed? Because, and I said, well, that's because she has the wedding china, she has the everyday dishes, she has the dishes she put out for Christmas, she has the dishes that she served, dessert to the bridge club. He said, I never noticed the dishes were changing underneath me. And it was a revelation to him to discover 6 sets of dishes. So, all of this stuff about getting organized, it's not just, a silly frivolous thing. There's real life benefit in organizing.
Gail, thank you so
Gail.
much.
And Jill has material on the table in the back, and she'll be here to talk with you.
Yep, please
All
stay
right.
for the after show. And our next guest is Ann Sanabria with Monarch Place Assisted Living. She's going to talk with us about the latest in assisted living.
Hello.
Well, I have to say, I'm really enjoying how much we're all connected here today. And that's really what it's all about, There's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child,
Yeah.
like Leela Rose.
Yeah.
I think it takes a village to raise a senior, because it's really a difficult task, and there are so many elements involved. We are a assisted living community in the Rockridge Piedmont area, Monarch Place. The building has been there for over 30 years. It used to be called Claremont House, so some of you might be familiar who have been in this area a long time. Our new owner came in, American Senior Living, and put about $6 million into the building, and it is
Wow.
really a bright, new, shiny penny.
It is.
You cannot see it from the outside. Leela and Dave have both been in the community, and so you really have to come in to see all the oohs and ahs that we have done.
Oh, it's really a
And it
beautiful
is
place.
like a fine hotel for seniors. And there's lots of little nuances like that. Our housekeepers wear skirts and the aprons like a fine hotel. So it's really the best of both worlds. Fine hotel living, yet it's assisted living. So it's senior housing, and we can help with what's called ADLs, activities of daily living, of course. So it's a wonderful place to call home. We're the cruise ship that's just always docked. We don't go anywhere, yes. But I just love all the things that we were talking about. I love your story about your mom, Todd. I'm so sorry, I just lost my mom in June, and it's like nothing else that happens in your life. But I so love that she did all that preparation, and it's so important. And the biggest thing that people forget about are family photos. Because once, if they haven't really marked them in those scrapbooks, so make sure people write in the back of the photos, oh, that was Great Uncle Joe, and his daughter and stuff like that, because we're not going to remember any of those people. So it's a wonderful thing. Yes, Dave?
And I have a question. When I was younger, they didn't have assisted living. It was back in the day, the old folks' home, and you just took Grandpa for a drive, and he didn't come back. You took him
Right.
to the old folks'
Right.
home and left him. And so a lot of people have grown up with a perception of what senior living used to be, and they think that's what it is today. It's just a little box and a bed, and that's where you go to die.
Yes.
And so can you expand on some of the amenities that assisted living has
And
and
it
what your
really is
community
different.
offers?
It is so different these days. I've been marketing assisted living for almost 20 years. And before that, it really was mostly congregate care. Churches ran homes and things like that. Very meat and potatoes and nothing special quite often. We have discovered a whole new world in senior housing, partly because there's going to be so much more of us. So many people are living for older ages. So it has truly become like the retirement life, the cruise ship with fun. We're like Fun Central. So you always have to have things going on. You have to build relationships among your residents that live there, and you do everything to accommodate that. Get-togethers, happy hours, entertainment, community. You build a sense of community. We get to know our residents as well as family, sometimes better than family even. Yes.
What are the age,
Great question. In the state of California, an assisted living community is licensed under Title 22. So you have to be 62, I believe, is the age. They could have changed it to 60, but I believe it's still 62. Now, with that being said, if someone came to us and their parent had Parkinson's disease and was 59, but needed like-minded care, like that person who's 62, we can get an exception from the state to have them move in with us and then start to care for their needs. I also have, of course, information in the back. I have an invitation to our big open house. Great timing for today's event,
All right.
because this coming Thursday is our big open house, and it is going to be quite an extravaganza. So I'd love to invite all of you here to that, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
and your oldest resident?
I have a resident in December. I believe her birthday is Christmas, and she'll be turning 100.
Wow.
You know, you can tell from all the Willard Scott shows, you know, every day. I mean, back in the day, again, 15, 20 years ago, he maybe had 1 or 2 names. He now goes on and on and on for these people that are 100, 103, 105. So it really is remarkable. I mean, it's very true. It's remarkable how long people are living. So I would say at this moment, I have about 60 to 100.
And how many residents?
I have 152 apartments in my building, 6 floors. And of course, Mr. and Mrs. can live in an apartment together. I believe right this minute, I have 112 people that live with us. So I do have some availability. We have studio apartments and also 1-bedroom apartments. Our studios start at $3,200, and the 1-bedrooms are $49.95. So that would be the price for a senior who's independent with their activities of daily living. If we're assisting you and we're helping you in the bathroom, if we're managing your medications, because of all those meds we were talking about before, it gets confusing, then there's an additional charge for that. We would find that out when we do an assessment. We get information from the doctor. That's part of the processes, of course, that are in front of us before we move somebody in. We have lots of meetings. We have lots of different things to get accomplished, a doctor's report that gets filled out, and we all have a meeting about what we think mom might need help with. We go with that program for the first 30 days. If we've not hit the mark, or maybe she needs more, maybe she needs less, then we re-look at that after 30 days and come up with the correct answer. Yes, sir?
The $49.95 just entitles you to your room.
So the
And-
the core rent is what we would call that. That would be, again, everything that an independent senior would enjoy. So it's the roof over your head, 3 meals a day plus snacks, and we just eat like kings. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the cookies at Monarch.
Thank you, Gail. And what a great segue. I actually have, we have cookies in the back besides Grandmom's ginger cookies, which I want one of those. I did bring 3 boxes of cookies extra, so if anyone is ready to schedule an appointment with me, I brought my planner, my day timer, so we could schedule an appointment to come and see the community. Whether, you know, I'm all about, we're all talking the same language when we talk about planning. You know, we all do the type of, and I won't use the word admit, because that's like the land of hospitals, but we all certainly work with discharge planners and get those calls. Grandma's in the hospital, broke the hip, the doctor's saying she can't go home, what are we gonna do? And everybody scrambles, and it's a terrible, heady process. You know, we can avoid all that by looking at places and kind of having a better plan going in, and then it's easier for everybody. Yes?
Is there physical therapy people on site?
The land of assisted living, just by nature, is the social model. So, you know, I'm not kidding when I say we're having fun all day long. We are not the medical model, so we do not have nurses or doctors or PT or physical or OT. However, just like your own home, so you had a medical episode, your doctor's now saying you're gonna have 6 weeks of physical therapy, your insurance is gonna dictate who is gonna be that carrier, and they're gonna come into your private home at Monarch. So we have professionals coming in and out of our community all day long. We have a hospice waiver, so if somebody has a terminal illness, they could still come back to their apartment that they've grown to love. We get under the hospice umbrella of that organization, so then that apartment might turn a little bit more medically than the rest of our community would be. And it's a beautiful thing to have somebody pass instead of a medical environment, of course. You know, don't get me wrong, there's certainly wonderful hospitals and skilled nursings, but especially for our seniors, and that's what my passion is. We do a terrible job of that triangle of, you know, I'm at home and oops, I fell and broke a hip, I'm in the hospital for 3.5 days, and now I'm going to be in skilled nursing for 5.5 days, and then they're going to send me home because that's all they got, and oops, gosh, I fell again. You know, so it's just, it's a terrible, terrible, it's a crisis just about in health. You know, I'm preaching to the choir. We all know that it's a healthcare crisis, but especially for seniors, you have to have an advocate with you, and sometimes we don't. You know, so we can't help that. Yes, sir.
Do you accept clients who are escape risks?
We do not. So in my community, again, I have a hospice waiver. I do not have a dementia waiver. So if somebody's mild cognitive impairment, which it sounds like your client, Jeff, would certainly be in the category of. He was, you know, it's a terrible feeling to, as a senior, to know I'm starting to lose it. I know I don't remember stuff the way I used to. And we're all, even the medical professionals, are so quick to slap oh, it's dementia. You know, there are over 70 kinds of dementia, first of all. You know, people say, oh, well, it's, you know, it's Alzheimer's, it's not dementia, and thank goodness. Well, Alzheimer's is a type of dementia, you know, so it's so funny the catchphrases that we all, you know, hold on to, like, well, let's hope it's not Alzheimer's, it's just vascular dementia. Well, you know, so we do not. If somebody were a danger to themselves or other, or they were a flight risk, as you say, we do not have a secured building. So Monarch would probably not be the community for them. But I really feel it's my goal, if a family comes to see me and I'm not going to be the right product, whether it's price or location or, you know, just services, I will help you. I will help you entirely find the right place, because there is the right place. There's lots of great products out there, especially here in the Oakland, Alameda area. Berkeley has really just one community that I know of, the Berkshire. But there's lots of great products and properties out there. Yeah, and it's really just about all getting educated, knowing what's out there. And hoarding in seniors is at epidemic proportions. It gets to the point where what I tell people to scare them a little bit, Gail, I'm sure you've probably done this, is I will say, because I know I had an aunt that was in this exact same situation. If you're in your own home and you're hoarding, and you can call it whatever you want to call it, if you had an emergency in the living room and the paramedics were called, if they cannot get down your hallway with the stretcher, we are all in trouble. So kind of just, it's almost like a little bit of the fear of God, but you know, sometimes that is enough to just open their eyes like, oh yeah, I guess all those stacks, because the paper hoarding is quite a specialized thing. You know, again, I had an aunt that I think had every newspaper from 1964 till 1982, you know, and we just really don't need that, and we have to get to the bottom of why that's so important. Well, that's an important piece of paper you have right there. That's important, and that one's important.
Right, yeah.
I can't throw.
That's a whole different ballgame. But my aunt had entire Washington Post, you know, it was like an archive down her hallway, and that's what we finally said, a stretcher could not get down here.
And I've been to your community, and I have to say, I've been to a lot of communities in the last 6 months. Logina and I have really done extensive visiting to all of them. And walking into your community is just like walking into a casino in Vegas. It's so opulent and beautiful. So I just have to pitch it. If you haven't been there, go there and visit, because it's really a wonderful place to be.
Yes, and they have a wonderful Sunday brunch.
Yes,
Yes,
fabulous Sunday brunch that I am giving everyone a postcard to call and get a reservation for that if you'd like to try us out. That's also a great, easy way, you know, if you have a family member, you have a neighbor that really should start looking around, it's a great, easy way, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, lock them in an apartment until they sign papers or something. You're going to come into what looks like a lovely hotel,
Yes.
go into a fine dining room that's going to have all the trimmings of, you know, Scott's in Oakland for a brunch, and People are gonna look around, and you're gonna see the people around them, and they're gonna say, well, that looks like Aunt Mary, and he looks okay over there, you know, because it is scary. Even today, when you say assisted living to people and people nod their head, oh yeah, assisted living, I guarantee you 90% of those people in their heads are thinking of skilled nursing communities, where their
Yeah.
grandmother used to be, where it smelled like urine in the hallways, and, you know, this is a whole new category.
It sure is.
So you really
Yes,
have to
yes,
get educated.
In
and-
fact,
and
you
it's
can
easy, it's
even
fun.
have your dog and your cat.
Yes,
at
you can have your
home.
pets
I have
in our
people
apartments.
live
Thank
with
you,
their
Gail.
pets.
Yes.
What about vehicles if you still drive?
You can have your vehicle in our community. We have underground parking, so it would be secured. And so,
Wow.
yeah, you can bring your car with
And
you.
there's
Yes,
transportation to go to.
transportation 7 days a week, an excursion bus plus a sedan. So again, we've really combined the elements of a fine hotel with assisted living. We have concierge service 24 hours a day, which is unheard of. So if mom just moved in and it's 2 in the morning and she thinks the boogeyman is in her new closet, she can actually call down at the front desk and that concierge will come up and, you know, open the door if we need to and say, look, didn't know boogeyman.
Or there he is.
Get out, yeah.
He's got a cookie.
Then call Gail.
Yes, ma'am.
Are these like small apartments?
You know, our studios are about 350 square feet. You'll have to come and see because, you know, so studios are about that. 1-bedrooms are about double that because when it was Claremont House, they were all studio apartments. When we renovated, we wanted some 1-bedrooms, so we cut a hole in the wall, so it's a double space. But what I always remind people is, I don't want mom to be in her 350 square foot apartment, you know, day in and hour out, you know, continually. You're gonna be all through the building enjoying the 5th floor billiards room and the 6th floor Gold Crown Lounge.
You have a
and
theater.
The dining room, movie theater on the 3rd floor, that's incredible. Big
With
huge screen
views.
TV with,
Do they go on trips?
we go on trips all the time. We just went to a Rose Garden and another outing. We went to a movie recently, yeah.
You went to the museum in San Francisco?
Museum in San Francisco, they go all over the place. No nighttime, no overnight outings. We don't do that in our community.
Are the rooms furnished or can you furnish?
They are
them
not,
yourself?
they're unfurnished. Now, if you saw my model and you said, Ann, I want this apartment and I want this exact furniture, I would work with you to see what, you know, that would cost you. But we have people that come in and stage our apartments and stuff like that, so, yeah.
Are there any more questions for Ann? And just to let you know, all of our guests are going to stay after.
Yes.
We're going to enjoy some food.
Yeah, we
and
brought some
if
goodies.
you want some information to put in your junk drawer or to go home from work, you're welcome to do that. And we have a raffle, but right now we're going to play a game called Take Me Back. And I'm
Take
gonna-
me back.
Take me back,
Take
take
me
me back,
back,
take me, take me, take me back. And there you go,
Yes.
Jean,
All
go
right.
for it.
It's a trivia
Yes.
game. It's a trivia game. So here's the first question. Just shout out the answer. In 1950, the famous Brinks robbery netted $2.8 million. Where did it occur?
San Francisco.
At a bank.
Oh, very good.
Way to go, Jim!
And the next question.
Who said, old soldiers never die, they just fade away? All right,
must have
someone
been
knows
my
that?
mother.
We're so easy here.
So who was it that said it?
General Douglas MacArthur.
Oh,
There you go.
Okay, all right, okay. And the first one, it was Boston where the Brinks robbery was, okay? Okay.
In a bank.
Catcher in the Rye's portrayal of Holden Caulfield's 16-year-old life was a huge success. Who wrote the book?
J.D.
Salinger.
Very good. Lori Getty, all right.
Winner!
All right. Oh, you said it too?
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Oh.
I've already got one, actually.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Which longest-running daytime drama moved from radio to TV in 1952? Come on.
All my children.
Days of Our Lives.
Oh,
General Hospital.
well, everyone gets a prize, but someone's got to know this. From the radio to the television.
I love
Oh,
those.
come on, Dale.
Hey, I'm not that
No, I mean,
Radio.
but it's still going.
So the tip of my tongue.
Yes. Starts with a G.
Guiding light.
All right.
What is it?
Which one was it?
What is it?
Guiding light.
Guiding light.
Oh, God.
Wow. Yes.
That's right.
Yes, it's a, oh, yes.
We need
it's
some
been
more
on forever.
people in here. He's starting his collection already.
In 1952, Richard Nixon made a speech known as the Checker Speech in answer to allegations against him. Who or what was the subject of his speech?
Watergate.
Watergate.
No,
What, 52?
in 1952, this was
52.
before
Well, that's
Watergate,
way before.
made a speech known as Checkers.
Oh, his dog.
That was his.
Yes, Lori gets another bag.
What was it?
All right, another bag.
I missed the answer.
He's
Checkers
dog.
Dog.
Cocker
Yes.
spaniel
Checkers
dog.
was
He's,
dog.
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Take his bag away.
What accomplishment in 1953 made Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay famous?
Climbed Everest.
Very good. That's
From the Boy Scout leader.
That was right on.
Yeah.
All right. Start recording.
Call Gail.
Touch it.
Just a few more. What did Francis Watson and James Crick become famous for discovering? Okay, I'll read it again. Francis Watson, James Crick, what did they become famous for discovering?
DNA.
Yes. Very good. All right.
Take the second
You see, we
bag.
have a smart lawyer. We have a smart
And we have
lawyer.
another one right here.
Yeah, that's for your papers, Beverly.
She needs two for her paper.
There you go. Take two, they're small.
In 1954, the law known as Brown versus Board of Education was passed. What did the law prohibit? All right.
Segregation.
Very good. Get your
All
hands up.
right, winner.
Couple more.
What was it, Brown versus what?
Brown versus the Board of Education.
Oh,
Yes, we all had that in our
Herbert
history
Marshall.
books. Yes. What was the name of the new company formed when Nash, Kelvinator, and Hudson Motor Company merged?
Ford?
Chrysler.
General Motors.
No?
Is it called?
There's another one we haven't heard of much.
The Plymouth? Chrysler?
Chevrolet.
No, it's called American Motors.
American Motors. Hey, we have a winner.
That was a long time ago.
All right. What was the fast food franchise open to? What fast food franchise opened to the jingle "Hold the pickle, hold the lettuce" in 1954?
Burger King.
Very good.
Hey, we got a winner right here.
It could be her new stroller bag.
She could fit inside.
Psychologist Joyce Brothers won the $64,000 question. What was her topic?
What?
What was it?
Joyce Brothers.
Psychologist
Yeah,
Joyce Brothers
yeah.
won the $64,000 question. What was her topic?
Sex.
Sex.
We all win.
Was it? What?
Does anyone, do you give?
Yeah.
It was boxing. Isn't that amazing?
Oh my God.
Well, that could be sex.
That was next on my.
That's after the sex, the
Yeah.
box.
What motto did Congress authorize all U.S. currency and coins to say in 1953?
In God we trust.
Everybody! All right.
If you look inside your bags, there's a free Sunday brunch at Monarch Place in there. And everybody takes one home.
Just please call for reservations. We do this every single Sunday. We have ice sculptures at the brunch. It is quite incredible, but do call because we, get crowded, of course.
What's
So,
the time?
thank you, and I don't think it's on the card. Any time from 10:30 to 2:30. So we can almost always accommodate you, but do please call for the reservation. Just say, I met that fabulous Ann Sanabria, she gave me this postcard, I want to come eat there.
And you don't have to bring anybody over.
No.
You do not have to, no. But if you have a neighbor who should start looking around, who's 84 and a half.
Neighbor, it could be me.
You're
All right,
looking
folks.
good for 84 and a half.
All right, we're going to have a drawing for the grand prize. And then everybody, please stay and enjoy a little food and a little bit of our hospitality. All right, little Jean.
Mix some
Now
cookies
mix them
up.
up. Here we go.
All right.
Shake it up now.
Good luck, everybody.
All right. And the winning ticket number is the last 3 digits, 736.
736.
Who is it?
Somebody after me. 734.
736.
Did someone leave?
Yes.
No.
Oh, they did. Well, you have to be here to win. Did you have
Oh,
736?
she stepped out the door.
Yeah.
She's halfway in it now.
You lose!
All right, let's pull another one.
All right, we'll pull another one. All right, last 3 numbers, 739.
That's me.
Oh!
I hope it's paper.
Something to put in your bag to put in your drawer.
Sometimes the newspaper.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Jazz and Leela.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leela, for being patient with us. All right, I think that's it, Jazz. Oh, let me just say hello. Hi, dear.